Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for this opportunity to tell a bit about UN Women's global work in empowering women and girls. I wanted to do this through some stories that have inspired me. But first, maybe just a couple of words about UN Women, although I know most of you probably know what UN Women is, but just a few words. UN Women is United Nations entity for gender equality, and it is thus a global champion for women and girls. UN Women works for a world where it is equally valuable to be born as a girl as it is to be born as a boy. UN Women works for a world where women can lead their lives free of violence, pursue education, earn an income, and to have their voices heard in decision-making. Well, all these fundamental human rights, as we know, still yet a lived reality for too few. We also know that no society can progress or thrive if half of their citizens are left to the sidelines. Fortunately, the change is possible, and we believe it's also inevitable. And like I said, I would like to tell you a bit more about UN Women through stories of three powerful women of different ages, from different countries, each championing the change in their communities and societies in different ways. Meet Hilda Vasquez. Hilda is a young indigenous woman from Guatemala, and we had the opportunity to meet Hilda last year here in Helsinki. She came to visit us. Hilda is 17, and she told us that if it wasn't for girls' mentorship program, she would have dropped out of school a couple of years back. Now she would be a wife and mother of at least one, perhaps more children. And she also told us that she might be living in an abusive situation, like there was violence in her own family until very recently. And as we know, violence against women and girls in its many forms is a universal human rights violation, and it exists everywhere. We also know that up to 50% of sexual assaults are committed against girls under 16, and that globally, 1 in 3 women experience violence in her lifetime. Every day, also 39,000 girls lose their childhood and right to education because they are married. But Hilda leads by an example to show that this is not inevitable. She says, we girls are always told that we are worth nothing and that we cannot do anything. It took me years to learn to say that I know something, that I'm able to do something, and now there's space for plans and dreams. Hilda became one of the thousands of girls and young women standing up and speaking out and breaking the silence against violence against girls and women in their communities, to transform their families and their communities. She joined the mentorship program that brings girls together to learn about their rights, to learn about how to recognize violence, and to learn how to defend their rights. To learn confidence and life skills. And the girls and young women, you see them here in the picture, they use very innovative ways to amplify their voices and to emerge as change makers. They use GPS technology, video, etc. They use GPS, for example, to locate places in their villages where girls and women feel that it's safe, and also locate places where they feel it's not safe. And they share this information And for the first time in their villages, these young women, these girls, they have become visible. Also for the village leaders and the men and boys in their villages, like the village leaders, Hilda told us, told her that, yeah, well, quite surprising that you, you young women can use this kind of technologies, and it has actually meant a profound change in their communities. Meet the next woman, Power Mama. Power Mama is from Liberia, and she is one of the so-called illuminative grandmothers, i.e. meaning she's one of the many elderly women from villages across Africa that UN Women has trained as solar engineers. Power Mama here says, I'm not just a farmer, I'm a solar engineer now, and I want to electrify my village and neighboring villages. The purpose of the training is to empower women, many of whom, most of them actually, have labored in agricultural work for most of their lives. And Baba Mama continues, I never imagined that knowledge like this would be open to illiterate women like us. This training has given us the confidence that we can make our lives better. Women like Baba Mama are thus bringing solar power to their villages. These illiterate women that are now learning technology skills brings them to a completely different kind of position in their societies, and new respect in their, and they gain new respect in their societies and communities. And I think that particularly when women from poor rural communities are empowered and they gain the control and ownership of technology and the ability to earn their income, the change is very profound. It's a lasting change. These new technicians are also taught how to train other villagers in solar lamp maintenance, and they are encouraged to set up repair shops, etc. So they gain regular income also. And the women, at the same time, they are supporting greener energy, because in many of the villages, there of course is no electricity at all, and the usage of kerosene is very high. Yet we know that kerosene is not a sustainable energy or resource, nor is it cheap or healthy. So this initiative saves around 160,000 liters of kerosene a month across South America, Africa, and Asia. The last woman that I would like you to meet is Soundari Devi. She works in an expert garment factory in the Indian city of Tirupur. With UN Women's support, Fairwear Foundation, which is an international organization committed to workers' rights, is undertaking a groundbreaking program to create violence-free workplaces in garment factories in India, in Bangladesh. In garment factories, up to 90% of the workers are women, as we know. And for them, besides the issues such as fire and building safety, work safety or the lack thereof means also actually violence and harassment on a daily basis. Over half of the women workers in the garment industry have in fact experienced some form of workplace abuse. Yet the exact statistics are very, very difficult to establish. Violence and harassment are not recognized, not among the workers, the women themselves, not among the business. And of course, both India and Bangladesh, they have laws in place to address workplace violence. It's just more of the lack of resource, or even more lack of commitment to implement them. Fairware Foundation is translating the laws from paper to action, reaching over 25,000 workers and the management in the factories, in 50 factories in India and Bangladesh. Also, Soundari Devi's workplace received anti-harassment training, and she told that this was the first time that harassment and violence were defined in her workplace as factors that undermine safety, also productivity, human rights. And after the training, an anti-harassment committee was established in her workplace, and this committee was selected through voting. The voting rate was 100% for this committee, so it's a rather strong testament of the commitment to the issue in her workplace. She says, "Now I understand that I can do it, that I don't have to wait at home or at the factory for somebody to take care of me." Here's the info card for the factory management, actually, because these committees work very closely with factory management in order to get them on board in this issue. This is, of course, a crucial element. Fairware Foundation is rather well placed to do this because it has over 90 companies and 120 clothing brands as its members. And thus it influences companies to acknowledge the issue of violence in their supply chains and how to bring it up in their negotiations with the factories. So I'm there, I think. Just wanted to do this in this manner, to share a few different stories, all examples of UN Women's work all over the world to empower women and girls. Thank you very much.